Hi, everybody. I'm Alice K. Ruckelhaus from SufferingWell, and we are coming to you with another patience challenge. First of all, though, I want to know, and if you don't mind writing this in the comments below, how you did on the last challenge, and especially if you're starting to notice a difference in your body as you become more patient. Okay, so today's challenge, and for the next 2 to 3 weeks probably, is going to be a silent listening conversation. Okay, so you all know that a lot of us have a problem with interrupting each other or thinking about how we're going to respond while the other person's talking. So, what we want to do with this challenge, because this has to do with patience, is in your next conversations, try to do this until we have the next challenge out. Listen without interrupting. Okay. And be patient with yourself, because if you're in the habit of interrupting, which I am, I grew up in California, we talk at the same time all the time. So I've been out of California for 21, 22 years, and I'm still really bad about interrupting. So I'm going to really be working hard on this. And if you would please pray for me, I would appreciate it. If you'd encourage me by telling me in the comments that you're praying for me, that would be even better, because I need a ton of prayer on this one. So listen without interrupting. First, just do that. Okay, just listen without interrupting. When you feel like you're getting better at that, or if you've never had a problem with it, then practice listening without planning your reply. That can seem a little awkward, because if you haven't been thinking while the person's talking about how you're going to reply, there's going to be a little bit of silence before you answer. But you can do things like say, just a minute, let me think about that. Or, wow, that's a really good point. And while you're saying that, it's okay if you're thinking about what you're going to say. But I'd like to encourage you to let there be just a little bit of silence. Okay, because we have such a hard time putting up with silence in our lives and especially in our conversations. But I think that those people who are listening, you're going to feel like, oh, they're going to get impatient or think what's wrong with him or her or whatever. But in reality, they're going to appreciate that you're really, really listening to them. Okay, so the two things that we hope will happen in your life because of this, besides developing patience, and this is part of developing patience, is that it will teach you relational patience, patience with other people, and also deepen your connection with others. Not just the people that you're really close to, but maybe your office mates that you barely talk to, or people on the bus, or whatever situations you're in. Just listen to people. They do not receive this very often. I can guarantee you. There are very few people who just listen patiently and don't try to make it about themselves, but make it about that person who's talking. You are showing them love. You're showing them respect. You're showing them gratitude, because if you really listen to them, there are things that you're going to learn from them. And if you thank them for that, thank them for what you just learned. Maybe you learned something about human nature, not something that puts them down, like, oh, I'm so grateful that I learned that people can be so stupid. Don't say something like that. But just say, I'm really grateful that I learned today that that's something that's hard to understand. We all have different things that are difficult for us to understand, and that's something that's hard for you. And I want to be more considerate of you in that. And I really appreciate that you've been so considerate of me in the areas that I'm having a hard time with. So just things like that. Look for ways that you can be grateful to the person. Look for responses that you can give that show your love, your gentleness, your humility. Be truly humble as you're talking to people. That's another really good virtue that will come from doing this exercise, is humility, because you're putting the other person first. All right. Before I say I love you, let me just ask you to put in the comments how difficult you think this is going to be. Maybe rate it on a scale from 1 to 10, 1 being really easy, 10 being difficult. If you're willing to, that'll take some humility to share. But a lot of times when we're humble, that really That really does help us. And other people will see that. It'll make it easier for them to humble themselves too, which is what this whole exercise is about. And it'll also make them want to encourage you and pray for you. If you say, this is going to be really hard for me, it will, I know that at least two of you are going to comment that you're praying for me, and I know how much that's going to encourage me. And so it's worth the vulnerability that I've had in sharing this with you. So I want to encourage you all to be the same way. If there are tips that you have for helping us to listen without interrupting and to not plan our reply, go ahead and put those below also. Also, I want to remind you that we have a free email course about patience. It lasts about 6 months. You get 2 emails a week, completely free. We're not asking for money for anything. We're not going to be sending you things asking for money. And when you finish the class, we take your email off our list. So it's not like you become part of a mailing list or something like that, unless you're going to have the opportunity at the end to join the SufferingWell family if you want to get ongoing emails, but you don't have to do that. This is no strings attached. And it has Bible studies about patience. It uses extraordinary Christians as examples of patience, and it has some very practical elements and exercises as well. So we encourage you to do that. And then these little exercises are just challenges that we're doing all together to encourage each other and to work through this whole thing of patience, because that's probably one of the hardest virtues to develop. All right, I love you all, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.